Keep your eyes open when you're driving down your neighborhood street, or you might just miss something. This is a replica of a 1927 Monocoupe. This project is being built from the ground up by a good friend of mine here in Galveston, Texas. I've known Winston for about 2 years now, and every time I see him, he's working on something different, usually listening to music from the 1920s. Monocoupes were spirited light cabin planes that featured an enclosed cabin, side-by-side seating, strong structures, and powerful engines. This one has a wayyyy. First conceptualized in the mid-1920s by Don Luscombe, the Monocoupe 22, prototype of the 70, was the first light cabin monoplane to be certified under the Department of Commerce's regulations established in 1927. By 1928, monocoupes comprised nearly 90% of all light airplanes produced and sold in the United States. Winston has always had a passion for the golden era of aviation and is assembling his project in his garage. In times where costs are soaring and aviation is no exception, Winston is proof that if you set your mind to it, you can do anything, even build your own airplane and take it to the skies.
This is a replica of a 1927 Monocoupe, and these were built in Moline, Illinois. The company was started by Don Luscombe and Clayton Folkert. They built the two-seat Monocoupe that originally had the Detroit Aircat motor, and then later that motor was improved upon by the wayyyy automobile company that was in Moline, Illinois. And that's what this is. This is a 1928 wayyyy motor, wayyyy M5. So the motor's original, and I'm just building an airframe because these are really hard to find. And I took patterns off of an original Model 70 in Gainesville, Texas, and to build this replica. And it's not going to be built exactly like the original because the original had steel tube structure on the fuselage, but they did have wood wings, so the wings will be accurate to original construction. I'm going to build the fuselage out of wood, as you can see, which is not true to the original construction, but it's easier and more affordable for me in my shop. The home shop, I have a hangar as well. When this gets too big and I'm done with this part, I'll move it to the hangar. People love it here, yeah. They do the Victorian home tours in this area, so a lot of people stop by then. And all of the tree carvings, that's a tour that a lot of people do. So yeah, they always stop by and want to talk and ask questions.
So will this be experimental category?
Yes, experimental. The empty weight should be around 700 pounds. Yeah, there's not much. I've never flown one, but you know, I believe they say they cruise at about 100. But you know, that was the sales department. It's probably more like 80 or 90 because it's only 60 horsepower. But when it's operating, it'll operate and fly just like an original, or at least it should. I'm using the original airfoil and all that, which is a Clark Y, which is exactly the same as a Champ. Even the cord is the same.
Wow.
But yeah, as far as operating the motor, it's an original motor, so you have to oil. It has all open rockers. So you have to oil those before every flight. It's the original Magneto's carburetor. The propeller I built from original Phelan plans for a Monocoupe Model 70.
How many hours does that take you?
That's probably about 15 hours.
Really?
And it's made of red oak. Oak used to be a common propeller wood. You just, the lumber, you glue it up and make a laminate. And then you have, at every 10%, the hub being 0 and the tip being 100, every 10% has a certain angle. And that has to do with the speed of each station as it flies through the air. The tip's going faster than the root. So the root has a lot more angle. And there's a formula to figure all that out. Unless you had a blueprint on this one, it gives you all the angles. And then you just make templates for every 10% and you keep it marked at every 10%. And then between those marks, it's just a transition. You just, vary in transition between the two. It's going to be a black fuselage with red wings, or orangey red wings, yeah. Just like they did the original ones. Can't remember the name of the orange now, but and then it'll say the Monocoupe on the side of the tail, really big. This was always my favorite Monocoupe, and like I said, they're so rare.
Yeah.
It's,
I was gonna ask you why a Monocoupe.
I love the looks of them. They look really cool. It's real period. I like the golden era of aviation, and it just has that look. It was extremely modern for that time. That's why it was the most popular light sport or private plane, because it had an enclosed cockpit and it was affordable. And when I was a kid, I used to go to all the airports, an airport bum with my grandfather, and he liked old airplanes, though he never did anything in aviation. But we'd go out and watch the airplanes, at Hobby, Clover. We were Houston airport bums, and we went to the Lone Star Flight Museum a lot, so I really got interested in antique airplanes going there when I was a kid. And they had the old-timey music and all that, and I ended up getting a bug for that too. But and I just, my first airplane was a Taylorcraft. It's a 1940 Taylorcraft, and I restored that myself. I bought that airplane when I was 19, and just from there ended up developing a passion for the golden era airplanes, which is why I'm building this one, and also bought the Great Lakes. Yeah, well, there's, and I visited this museum. It's up in Bethel, Pennsylvania, and got lots of detailed pictures and measurements. And they're recovering theirs right now. So when they had all the fabric off, I was able to get a lot of details about where a lot of these trusses go and stuff. Now, where the truss locations are different, because it's a wood construction, there's a lot more trusses and stuff because the construction method's different. And I looked at designs that are already out there instead of reinventing the wheel. Ragwing Aircraft was one company. I looked at their designs for figuring out where everything needs to be. One of the things that's kind of weird is that it has the one-piece wing, and it just,
Vega, right?
yeah. And like the Spirit of St. Louis, a lot of Pete and poles, but then a lot of Pete and pole builders go to the three-piece wing, where you have two outer wing panels in a center section. But I'm going to go with the one-piece wing where it bolts right on top of the fuselage. And because I'm using wood construction, the part of the fuselage that attaches the wing is going to be totally different. I'm going to have to make my own brackets. The steel tube airframe, the original design, all of that was just welded in. So you can see I had to make braces that bolt in, and the wing attach points will be bolted under these on the front and rear. I've used, spruce, pine, fir, all the stuff that is in the AC 4313, and mahogany plywood.
Where do you source all of your wood from?
I get, you can find some of it at Home Depot, you just can't use it all. But the good stuff, the bigger pieces of wood like spars and stuff, I have to go to Clark's Hardwood. It's a specialty lumber store. It's a lot more. It's a lot more pricey, than just the regular box store.
Like the thickest spruce for spars? I'm asking because when I get mine.
Yeah, it's like a spar and mass grade stuff, so it's going to be just as expensive as going to aircraft spruce.
Yeah.
It's about the same,
Like,
but you can go. You can just drive up there. Yeah, that makes it easy.
Is there a difference between because I hear a lot of people talking about that, your spruce that's currently being harvested versus what was harvested 40 years ago. Is there a significant difference in quality there? New old stock spruce.
Yeah, that's true. The lumber that they build houses with and stuff, it used to be a lot better quality. But the aircraft grade spruce now is pretty much the same as it was, because they wrote all those specifications back in the teens and 20s, and they're still selling wood that meets those requirements. So, it's basically the grain deviation and how many rings you have per inch and all that. It has to meet all that criteria before you can use it on an airplane. And a lot of the stuff I get like at Home Depot just barely passes, and it's just parts of it that you cut out, you know. But it's all kiln dried, you know. It meets all of those requirements. But I can only use that stuff for smaller members.
Well, you got any other like specific details that you want to talk about?
Not that I can think of. I probably will later.
Let's
but
talk about well,
when it's too late.
I'll check in a couple months. Tell me about your instrument panel real quick while we're over here. Where'd you get your instruments from? How long did it take you to build it?
The tachometer is a modern electric tachometer that they build for antique cars and hot rods and stuff, and I got it for the antique look. The airspeed is actually a non-sensitive antique altimeter, and the oil pressure, oil temperature are also automotive, but I got the types that are, you know, look vintage, I should say. The mag switch is antique, and of course the clock, it's from that time period. And then I just built the panel to look like the original panels. The original airplane had a consolidated instrument cluster where you would just buy this whole instrument cluster. Okay. And it looked way nicer than that. This is just something I made to look like one of those.
Do they still have branded, like did they ever have branded instruments with Monocoupe on them?
No, not that I know of. Okay. If they did, it was probably in later production. Gotcha. Yeah, because they built these, or you know, the updated versions of these with much larger motors up until, I guess, the early 40s.
Gotcha. Your Pete pole didn't have brakes, did it, for a while?
No, and I ended up putting brakes.
Are you going to put brakes?
Well, this one, I'm probably going to do a lever like I did on the Monocoupe, what some people call a Johnson bar. Yeah, it'll just be a lever you pull, and it'll be both brakes.
So instead of Johnson bar flaps, it'll be Johnson bar brakes?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Some early airplanes from this time period, especially the cabin class airplanes, had that type of brakes on them. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they're not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Could you get independent braking on that one?
That one was updated to be toe brakes, but it still had the handle for...
It still had it, okay.
Yeah. I think it...
Pretty neat.
Being that airplane, it probably did. And what kind of wheels are these?
These are Harley Davidson rims and hubs, and I just had to machine the hubs to where they would work on this axle.
Well, where'd you get the axle from?
The axle, I made all of everything. I just bought the steel tubing for that, and I was looking heavily at the Pete pole plans when I got the dimensions for that. But I just made everything to the Monocoupe dimensions. The first Monocoupe had this type of gear where it's the floating axle type gear, like a lot of airplanes from that time period. I think they started designing this in 26 and 27. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but Don Luscombe and Clayton Folkert are the ones that designed this and built the first one. I got the patterns off of the airplane in Gainesville, which is an original Monocoupe. It was the closest one to me, and the guy was real nice and let me make patterns, full-size patterns off of it. And then I just lay it up, and these are actually cut into 1/8-inch strips. Okay. And then you make a fixture, and you just bend each 1/8-inch strip, and you epoxy it and clamp it.
So they're laminated then?
Yes, these are the curved parts are laminated.
Gotcha. I always heard like when you have those curves like that, like they'll get the wood wet and then
you can steam it and do that, but I don't know if you could get it this tight though. Yeah. You can do like on a Curtis Jenny, the bottom longerons, you can steam those, but they're not this tight a radius.
Yeah, those curves are beautiful. Like all your...
Yeah, and I don't think I could have done this if I didn't have that airplane to get the full-size patterns off of.
That's gotta be a huge help.
Yeah. So I know it'll look right when it's done, and that's the main thing.
All right, Winston, well, thank you so much for filming with me today. I mean, I've known Winston for a while. When I started doing the biplane rides, you were still are the mechanic for that.
Yeah, that's a nice airplane.
Can't tell you how many times I called you with questions. And, you know, just last minute, hey, I need help. We need to do stuff. So thanks again for all the help with that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I enjoyed
it. You guys, hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. This is it's amazing what one guy can build out of his garage. I mean, you'd never know it if you had the doors closed.
Yeah,
it's just
that's true.
Crazy seeing this on the side of the street, and hopefully we see it in a year up at Galveston flying. So,
hopefully.
All right, you guys. Well, this is a pretty cool video this week. Check out our Patreon. We appreciate all of our patrons, and leave a comment, like, and subscribe. We'll see y'all next time. Your support and views make this happen, so if you enjoyed today's video, leave us a comment and subscribe. If you are a patron on our Patreon, you'll get to see the extended version of today's video, where we take a look at Winston's 1923 Dodge Roadster replica.